Hi, I'm Emily Dumler, and I have 3 children. Isabella is 10, Lola is 8, and Hudson is 6. I've been married to my husband for almost 12 years, and I grew up in Wichita, went to Kansas State University, and then I moved to Shawnee about 11 years ago. So everything was great until August 8th, 2013, and that's when I went into the hospital for a bleeding disorder. I was having bleeding that wouldn't clot, and one night turned into a week in the hospital, turned into 43 days in the hospital, and I was diagnosed with ITP, and I had a splenectomy. I had 50 blood and platelet transfusions. I had all kinds of medications, even chemotherapy, to help get my platelets up again. And they finally ran a scan and determined that I did have ITP, but what was causing it was a blood cancer called lymphoma. I did 6 rounds of chemotherapy, and it went well. I was sick, but I handled it well. And then I was in remission, and we were really excited about that. And then just a couple months later, I had a scan, and it showed that my cancer was back, or that it was never gone in the first place. So then the next step for treating lymphoma that has relapsed is a stem cell transplant. I had a team of doctors at this point, and they all had different opinions about what was causing it. So with having so many different opinions, we decided to go get a second opinion just to confirm what we had been hearing all along. And so when we went to another hospital, they had another form of treatment available. And so we went to this other hospital 14 hours away, and I was gone for 3 months away from my family and my kids on Christmas by myself most of the time down there, and I had a stem cell transplant. So the type of stem cell transplant I had, they take your cells out and then they save them for later. Then they give you the hardest chemo that you could imagine, which is basically strong enough to kill you, and then they give you back your cells to keep you alive. After being the sickest I have ever been, I was down to 88 pounds, I had mouth sores, I couldn't eat, I couldn't barely speak or swallow. A couple months after I finished treatment, I had scans done, and they showed that this failed. At this point, it's completely devastating. All of my eggs were in this basket, and I had nothing left at this point. The option for people who fail a stem cell transplant is to do a second stem cell transplant, one that's even more difficult. I only had 6 months to live, is what they had given me from failing that first transplant. Not only that, but with the second transplant, the cure rate or the success rate is extremely low, around 5 to 10%. To think that I'm going to be sick as heck again and have to do this all over, and that there's not a very good chance that it will even work is terrifying. So my doctor and I in Kansas City talked about the next steps and what were some of the options. And he said my best chance at a cure was to find an immunotherapy clinical trial. And an immunotherapy clinical trial would basically get my immune system to function properly, to trick it into finding and recognizing the cancer and going after it. And so the only problem was there wasn't anything in Kansas City, and there wasn't, that I know of, any available in the United States even. I called the hospital that I had had my clinical trial done at, or my stem cell transplant done at. They said, we have a trial opening for that next week, and we have 1 spot left. I was admitted to the hospital for a couple weeks. I was extremely sick, and one of the big side effects with this type of therapy that I had was mental confusion. And I didn't even know my name. I couldn't write a sentence. I couldn't even write a line. I didn't know my children's name or who my husband was, and really couldn't even communicate for days. I was only the 3rd patient in the world at this point who had had this immunotherapy, this particular clinical trial, and you don't know what's going to happen, or if you're going to recover from the mental confusion and these really difficult side effects. But a month later, I had scans done and they showed that I was in remission within 1 month of receiving my T cells. And then here I am 18 months later. I just had a scan yesterday and I am still in remission today. The clinical trial that I was a part of was initially funded with 90% funding from LLS. It's believed that the clinical trial I was involved in wouldn't have gotten off the ground if it hadn't been for LLS and the research and the money that they funded the trial with. I'm living proof that cancer research truly does save lives, and I'm so excited to finally be in a position where I can give back and then I can raise money and help find a cure for blood cancers. So I've recently been nominated to run for Leukemia Lymphoma Society's Women of the Year. Man and Women of the Year is a fundraising competition between candidates in the Kansas City area. It's a 10-week competition. Candidates who raise over $50,000 are able to fund a research study. I have set an even higher goal of raising $75,000 in a 10-week period starting March 2nd and ending May 11th. So raising $75,000 in 10 weeks is going to be challenging. It's not going to be easy and it's going to take a lot of work. We're planning a lot of awesome events and we're going to be out in the community doing a lot of great things. But I can't do it alone. I need your help. I need your help to cure cancer. So here I am, after 3.5 years, 87 days in the hospital, 50 blood and platelet transfusions, 11 rounds of chemo, 4 times losing my hair, 2 relapses, and 1 failed stem cell transplant. And all it takes is 1 life-saving clinical trial. And with the $75,000 we hope to raise with this campaign, we might just be able to fund that 1 trial. Thank you for your support.